What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm one of your hosts today, Alex Van Aken, and today I'm joined by Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
Good. I'm here to hold the door.
You are here to hold the door. And the reason that you're holding the door, holding the line, is because Wesley is in the middle of a lightning storm right now, a rainstorm, and we have to hold the line for him because his house could go dark any moment.
Yeah, it's storming bad, and Marcus, because he also lives in Florida, was kind enough to drive up and hold my door intact, which you can't see from his camera, but he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, that's what we do for each other here in Florida.
Yeah, we're the Florida men.
Yes,
Florida men. I also saw you've been getting into bird watching, Wes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I last year got like a bird feeder and just set it up in my backyard, and then I built a birdhouse, and now I'm full bird watcher. I got binoculars for Christmas. I got a nice little guidebook. I'm identifying birds. I'm putting out special types of food like mealworm so that bluebirds come in and build a home. I'm basically like an 80-year-old grandma now. It's awesome.
And now they're all being washed away by the giant storm.
Yeah,
I pulled in all my stuff. I'm a little upset because yesterday was a really good day. I had like 22 birds at once in my backyard. And now because of the storm, I pulled in my birdhouse and bird feeder. And now I'm like, I hope they know it's not permanent. Come back, birdies.
Wow.
Do you live in like a relatively bougie neighborhood? Like if you have 22 birds in your yard, is that the kind of thing that neighbors go like, we have a problem with that for some reason? Like they get mad.
They might get mad about it, but there's like kind of like a little bit of forest nearby, and I think maybe I'm the only one that's like trying to attract birds. But it was like 18 finches, which are pretty common. But I had 3 or 4 bluebirds, and that's like the exciting part. So, you could gauge how many bluebirds you have in your backyard based on like the bourgeoisie and class and all that kind of stuff. I think so. Yeah, it's a bougie backyard.
Interesting.
Bird Informer.
Yeah, Bird Informer. That voice you heard is our online content director, Brian Shea. How you doing, Brian?
Doing all right. Spent a lot of time this last week writing a very long preview, which I believe we're going to talk about here.
Yes, in just a moment, we're going to be diving into your Suicide Squad preview. Real quick, though, I'm not done with the bird feeder stuff. I'm actually working on a game that involves bird feeders, Wes. So maybe I'll have to have you send me some screenshots of your book, so I don't have to
do that.
Buy it on Amazon or something.
Yeah.
200 pages of birds.
Harley Quinn of the Suicide Squad, also part of the Birds of Prey.
I hope the birds of prey don't come to my backyard because some birds, like blue jays, are bullies to my birds.
Oh,
yeah,
that's not good.
So you want the Birds of Prey to not get rid of the Blue Jays? Is that?
I would assume birds of prey. I don't want them to attack and create class warfare in my backyard. It's an open haven for all, and I will feed all who need food and provide shelter. Birds of Prey they don't sound too inviting.
By the way, Birds of Prey, underrated DCEU movie. Just put that out there.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Never seen it.
Me neither, but I've heard it's one of the better ones.
It is one of the better DCEU
breaking.
movies. Yeah.
Okay, Shay. Well, speaking of DC, let's get into it. Suicide Squad.
He's so excited.
I know, right? Jeez.
No. I sorry. I didn't. I am excited. I'm actually.
Get this over
we
with.
talked about it last week on the podcast. I'm actually excited for Suicide Squad. Whatever its shape or form is after its delay and all that, I'm interested to hear your thoughts because I'm eager to play this game.
So I wrote this in the preview that, like, because of all of the negative buzz online, I really haven't been knowing like how I'm supposed to feel about this game. Like, should I be excited about this game? Should I be like hesitant? Should I be just like outright like I'm going to ignore this game when it comes out? So that's why I was like so eager when I was going out there for the Game Awards, because this happened during my trip out to the Game Awards. Warner Brothers invited me to the Warner Brothers studio lot, where the Animaniacs live up in the tower. And I got to play a full day of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So started out with I want to say like probably 45 minutes of a single player session. and that got us through like just the opening and part of chapter 1, and then we had like a brief break, and then we were thrown into a multiplayer session, which I think lasted about 3.5 hours. So it was a pretty decent chunk of a gameplay session, and then I had a chance to do 2 separate interviews with developers at Rocksteady, and yeah, I mean, I came away from it more positive than I thought I would. My the gameplay feels really good. The characters all control very distinct from one another. The story seems like it's going to be very fun. Again, I was kind of jumping around a little bit from chapter 1, and then like kind of just as I was getting into the story, they were like, all right, that's the end of this gameplay session. We're gonna move on, and we're gonna take a quick break and then go into chapter 3. And that involves some characters that I was excited to see pop back up. Some of them were in different forms than you expect, because it is within the Arkham universe. We have the 3 Rocksteady games, the one Warner Brothers developed Arkham Origins, and now this takes place 5 years after Arkham Knight. And so in that time since, the Justice League has been formed, and Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern all exist in this universe. There's a whole suite of villains that you're going to encounter. You're going to encounter some of the villains that you encountered in the Arkham games as well. And obviously, Harley Quinn is also in both of the Arkham games and Suicide Squad. She is actually a playable character. So there's a lot of like stuff scattered throughout the world, stuff scattered throughout the story that kind of tell you what has happened in this world since the events of Arkham Knight. And there's they told me that the 100% ending of Arkham Knight is canonical. So there is they say that you will definitely know that for sure once you play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. But that's exciting that like there's all these like kind of things and Easter eggs and like info lore drops within the game that will tell you what has been going on in this universe that we've all spent so much time in, that has produced some of the greatest superhero video games of all time. Regardless of how Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League turns out, it's still in that universe that gave us Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight, Arkham Origins. So it's going to be nice to return to that regardless, even if it's not Gotham City. It's Metropolis that you're in this game. But Metropolis is
Gotham's across the bay.
Yeah, according to Batman vs Superman, that is correct. Yeah. Okay. No sign of Martha anywhere though, which is unfortunate.
Dang it!
That's DLC.
I hope that's actually the conclusion, because like the story is that Brainiac has come to Metropolis and has basically enslaved, brainwashed, and kind of captured all of humanity, including many members of the Justice League. And I'm really hoping that is like the culmination of how they save Superman and Batman from the brainwashing, as they just
Martha!
mutter the yeah.
Oh my God. Amanda Waller's like,
suddenly Amanda Waller says, yeah, Martha. And then Brainiac of all people is like, Martha? And it turns out there's actually another mother. Martha.
I will never get over that moment when watching that in theaters, the Martha moment.
Yeah, I don't think Zack Snyder will either.
No.
So yeah, the story seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of different DC characters popping up. I mean, just in the first chapter alone, you got the 4 playable characters who are Harley Quinn, King Shark, Captain Boomerang, and Deadshot. There's references to a bunch of characters. One of the first things you do is you go to kind of the abandoned Hall of Justice, and there's like a Justice League kind of museum that's dedicated to them, and like you can go, and it's like obviously like set up like a museum, so you can go around and like hear holograms of the heroes talking. So I mean, it's kind of heartbreaking to hear Kevin Conroy back in the role of Batman, seeing as how he passed away recently, this being his final performance as Batman presumably. But he's delivering an amazing performance. But you hear Superman talk about like his time in the Justice League, Wonder Woman, Flash, etc.
Did they I'm sorry, real quick. Did they get any of the other like known actors that played like Superman like in the animated series? Just because like the cool thing about the Arkham games was that they got Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, because they're like, oh yeah, that's the cartoon voices you grew up with. Did they do the same for Superman or at all?
No, I don't know the voice cast. I know it's Tara Strong that's doing Harley Quinn again.
Right.
but I don't know the other voice actors. But yeah, so like the story continues on, and they basically are like, well, we got to do our mission, but we don't. Because like it starts off with like them getting the bombs planted in their heads in a very, very comical scene. By the way, it's not. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's definitely on the tone of the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie that came out a couple years ago. So I very much enjoyed like the cutscene that shows that happening, and like the establishing the team dynamic that's at play here. And then they just kind of get dumped into Metropolis in the Hall of Justice by Amanda Waller. And they're like, all right, you guys got to get up to the roof and like kind of assess the situation. But they're like, we need some like weapons. We need some stuff to like help us get around, because, you know, like how's Captain Boomerang going to like fly through the air? And so they had to have a narrative reason for that. But they find a cool narrative reason in that like they find like a kind of a display case of different weapons and stuff that has been confiscated or was like used by the Justice League or confiscated from their enemies. So like Captain Boomerang finds the Speed Force, which allows him to kind of run like the Flash, and Harley takes a bat drone and a grappling shot and allows her to kind of like swing a little bit similar to Spider-Man, but it definitely controls differently than Spider-Man. But they all teleport. They all traverse differently from one another, so it feels good and like learning how to control them. Deadshot finds a jetpack, and that allows him to kind of establish his style and everything. So like they all also have different fighting styles. So like Harley has her bat, she has a pistol, and then they all have a primary ranged weapon, a secondary ranged weapon, and a melee weapon. And I like Deadshot is kind of maybe the most like third person shooter style character, because he has those two weapons, and then he also can like, as part of his jetpack, he can fly around the field a little bit, but also he can hover. Like if you jump up and you aim down the sights, he almost does like the Breath of the Wild thing where like you kind of suspend yourself in midair, but it doesn't slow down time. But he's using the jetpack where he can kind of just like kind of hover over the battlefield and pick off enemies that way. So like he has like a mid-range weapon and a sniper rifle. At least that's how it starts off. You collect a lot of weapons and you can like trade them out. They all have different specialties. There's one that like awards critical hit for like shooting the enemies in the legs instead of the heads, but like the heads, it doesn't do as much damage if you use that weapon to shoot them. And there's another one that like it's like a melee weapon, but it gives you like extra points if you counter properly. Not extra points, but like extra XP. And then there's different grenades. There's one that's what is it called? But it's like it has like the casino like gold-plated sevens that pop up when you throw it. It has like a casino name. And that allows like you to get like extra money when you use a grenade, and then like it's a cluster bomb.
Royal Flush.
It's something like that. I mean, let's see.
Two of a kind.
Yeah. Well, I want to know, one of my biggest questions with this game is like, does the shooting feel good? Because we associate the Rocksteady's work with like melee combat.
Yeah.
But like, is their third person shooting pretty good, or?
It doesn't feel as good or as revolutionary as like the free flow combat of the Arkham games did. Like, I mean, I still think that was like, way ahead of its time, and that proved to be the case because so many developers kind of outright copied it in the subsequent years. But like it felt good, right? Like I didn't have a bad time doing it. It didn't feel like it was like on the level of like something like Destiny or anything like that, where it's just like the gunplay feels so good that I'm like can't stop raving about it, but didn't get in the way of me enjoying the game. The thing that I was most concerned about after the timeline, I want to make it clear that I was mostly positive when I came out of my gameplay session and my interviews. It seemed like they were saying a lot of the right things. They understand the position they're in, coming from a game and a series that defined really the part of the generation that they existed in the Arkham games. They they seem like they understand like this is a big leap for a lot of fans, and they're trying to just kind of. I asked them why they didn't do a stick closer to like kind of the pedigree and like their expertise that they established in the Arkham games. They're like, well, that doesn't make sense for these characters. It's like for Batman, it makes sense because, he's like always thinking about like what his next move is. He's a master martial artist. So it makes sense to kind of have like the up close and personal free flow combat that the Arkham games did. For this, we wanted it to have like kind of like a fast paced, like run and gun, like raucous action, like over the top. You defeat these enemies, you move on, and it's just like a kind of a fun run and gun style. And there are different gameplay styles that you can cater your characters to and customize for. And it'll even tell you this weapon is good for run and gun. This weapon is good for like ranged combat. And that is actually very helpful because customizing your character seems like it's going to be a big part of this. But the thing that I came away most concerned about was the variety in the missions. I had a great time following the story, but it felt like so many of the missions were, all right, make your way to this part of the city. And then on your way there, you're going to encounter a bunch of enemies out in this big open world. And it just seems like there's a lot of missions that are kind of like copy paste, where it's just like it's like go here and defeat the enemies, go here and defend the point. And I've had that both in the kind of the world events and also in the story missions. There were a few story missions that actually proved me wrong on that. And those were the ones that were the best ones. Like there was one where it's kind of like the lead up to when the boss battle that I did was against the Flash. And in the lead up to that, there was one where it's like, all right, there's this giant cannon. You have to go around and deposit these bits of this Terminauts, which are these the Brainiac robots. And that there's these bits you have to deposit into the weak points, and then you'll be able to attack the cannon that's posing a threat. That was a more fun, more kind of catered mission than the other ones that I was playing, which were like very much like, all right, defend the objective again while the NPC either hacks the terminal or tries to like get stronger to help you out or something, or just go here and defeat all the enemies. It felt very early Destiny in that regard, where it was like a lot of the missions were very samey. That one with the cannon and then the Flash boss fight was actually very fun. So I would love it if like this is just kind of like the early game where it's like learning how the game plays and how it works and everything. And maybe that's why they chose the sequence, because it is very much like giving you the ability to learn how these characters control, because they all do control very differently. I got to play all four of them in different spurts, and I like a lot of them. I think Deadshot's going to be my favorite, but I did not like Captain Boomerang at all until I played for like probably like an hour with him, and then I was like, okay, he might be my favorite.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I really liked his traversal once I got the hang of it.
Him and the shark guy, what's his name?
King Shark.
King Shark.
Yeah, those two are the ones that look the most fun to me.
Yeah, eventually I did get the hang of Captain Boomerang, and I really, really enjoyed his traversal mechanics and his just kind of his overall weapons. And he's also very fun from a personality perspective, because he's just kind of like the vulgar member of this ridiculous team. So it's funny, like when they emerge out of the Hall of Justice and like they all have different reactions to what they're seeing, because they didn't get a briefing on it. They're just like, oh yeah, you gotta go here, there's some stuff going down in Metropolis, your mission's to do what we tell you or we blow your head up. And like Captain Boomerang just starts panicking of like, what did you send us into? Like this is unbelievable, like what you're expecting us to do. And Harley's just like excited about it, and then like King Shark's just kind of standing there like looking out like completely stoic and like I'm
a shark.
Yeah, exactly. And then Deadshot's like very mission driven, because he's a badass mercenary, so he's just like, all right, well, I guess it's the mission, so we got to do it. But
is the expectation that you're, because like something I haven't quite grasped is, am I supposed to pick one of these characters and kind of stick with them to build up my skills with them and their skill tree and my loot, or is the game forcing you to swap between them? Because something I didn't like in Gotham Knights was having to swap between them and not being super clear. And again, I'm not super clear on this game either.
It seems like you can play whatever character you want whenever you want. It does not seem like there are mission specific or character specific missions. It seems as though if you just want to play Harley Quinn the entire time, you can. And you can even do multiples of characters if you're playing multiplayer. So like if 3 people want to be Deadshot, you can do that.
Oh,
it does
really?
give you bonus experience and other bonuses if you have character variety. I noticed that was on like, because at the end of every mission, it gives you like a mission wrap up that tells you like all the stuff you got, all the like some of the loot that you got, the experience, like kind of like an itemized receipt of your experience. And then also it tells you which player did the best. And there's always kind of like a little like screen of them like mocking you for like they're the best and you're not. Which is, you know, again, very in tone with it. And you can send taunts to your friends online and everything. So they're definitely leaning into like just kind of the overall tone that we've come to expect from Suicide Squad, while also not feeling like just an outright ripoff the way that like kind of the Avengers game did, where it was like, okay, this looks like Dollar General Tony Stark and like, you know, knockoff Black Widow. They kind of did a thing where it's like, yeah, these are definitely these characters, but like they are definitely Rocksteady's own version of them.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that they're already in a established video game version of the DC universe with the Arkham stuff. Did you get a sense at all from playing or from talking to Rocksteady, like how live servicey this game is? That's another thing I'm still not clear on, and I think a lot of fans maybe are like either unclear or maybe blowing it to like a larger proportion than it is, because they've only said that it would have a battle pass with optional cosmetics and that it would be always online. But other than that, they haven't really talked about like, are they doing like Destiny style live events of things showing up in the world every like hour or something like that? Or like, is there a sense of like what the end game looks like of like, okay, we killed the Justice League, why should I keep playing? Why am I still in Metropolis doing stuff? You know what I mean?
So, I mean, I don't know what the end game is, obviously, but like they are going to be doing post-launch free content drops. And I mean, I hesitate to make this comparison because it immediately has a very negative connotation, but their plan sounds very in line with like what Crystal Dynamics was promising with the Avengers game, where they're like,
this is what I want to hear.
where they're saying like, you know, post-launch, there are going to be cosmetics that you can buy if you want, but we're going to put out new playable characters. And alongside that is going to come new story content. And basically the story content is going to be like, all right, we got to go recruit this guy or this girl to be on our team. And then, you know, once you recruit them, they will be on your team and they will be added as a playable character to your roster, is how they described it to me. But as far as like
Avengers,
but as far as the monetization is concerned, it sounds like it's purely the cosmetic angle. So if you don't care that much about it, and it sounds like there's going to be a lot of skins you can unlock just from playing, then it doesn't sound like it's going to be like, all right, monetization up the wazoo or anything.
I hope they've got a better roadmap for that stuff, because they obviously have the perfect example to look at and say like, well, let's not do that. Like,
Well,
don't announce Peacemaker and be like, he's a PS5 exclusive.
the thing that they, oh my god, yeah, they can't do that. I mean, but Peacemaker would make sense, right? Because he's already coming to Mortal Kombat 1, and he's, because of his show, is already an extremely popular character within Suicide Squad that a lot of people in the mainstream just didn't know who he was prior to what, 2021.
Yeah, 22, whatever.
I guess 2020 is when Suicide Squad came out, and then 2021 is when the movie came out, or the series, but whatever. It's maybe I have my timeline mixed up there. But anyway, I hope they learned the lessons there. I tried to dig into what lessons they did learn from other superhero games, and they were very hesitant to talk bad about another game. So they unfortunately did not dig into like, oh yeah, we've seen other games try the live service thing and we've learned the lesson. But like, Rocksteady is a good studio. I know a lot of people have left the studio, but it's safe to say that that studio has not let us down yet. I know some people were disappointed by Arkham Knight, but like that studio hasn't given us an outright stinker yet. So I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not the biggest fan of some elements, but like I liked it more than I thought I was going to going in. And, you know, I think that I was also pleasantly surprised by the lack of glitches or anything like that in the build that I played. And I think that's the number one thing that hindered Avengers when it came out, was it was, you know, very, very glitchy, especially in the multiplayer side. And I think that that was ultimately, if I recall correctly, that was what led Crystal Dynamics to delay its first content was like saying like, okay, we need to focus on getting this game working the way we want it to work instead of putting out new content. And I think that was the right call, but it also like doomed them for like letting the player base fall off. And I think that the way that they are positioning it as like you play the same content whether you're playing single player or multiplayer, and if you want you can play the entire thing single player, is a smarter approach than what happened in Avengers, where it was like, okay, if you want to play single player, we have this whole story for you that a lot of people just played that and they're like, okay, I'm good, I don't need to play this multiplayer at all. Whereas this, it's like, okay, you can play the multiplayer if you want, or you can just enjoy it in single player, and that's probably what I'll end up doing most of the time. Like I had a good time with the multiplayer, but like I don't know, like most games that I play these days, because I'm just like not on the schedule of so many of my friends, it's like I'm just playing single player anyway. So like even if I'm playing like Overwatch these days, it's like I'm jumping in just like doing random matchmaking and turning off the party chat. So I think that that's ultimately how I'm going to end up playing it, and that'll allow me to tack things on my own time. But like it seems like a perfectly solid multiplayer experience if that's what you want to do.
Well, this is my make or break for whether or not I will even consider playing this game multiplayer. Is if I play with friends, do I retain story progress? Like we do stuff together, and I say, all right, I'm going back to mine. Do I, do I have to do missions over again, or?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, that's also a make or break for me. I remember, what was it, like Far Cry 4 or something, where it's like, yeah, you can go in and play. And it's like, I think I was helping whoever was reviewing that for us out, and I played for like 2 hours, and I went back to my own save file and I was like, wait a second, I did this 2 hours ago. But yeah, I mean, I would have to imagine that it's going to be in the instance of whoever's hosting, but I have no information on that, so I'd only be speculating.
Okay. Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, I've been cautiously optimistic since we found out like a better idea about what the game would be. Just because again, I love Rocksteady too. I'm most excited honestly for the narrative stuff. Like
Same.
I want to see what post Arkham Knight like DC or their version of DC looks like, especially hearing that they're acknowledging the true ending of Arkham Knight, and that's such a weird place. Like just the idea of like, okay, the Justice League formed after that, like that's just such a weird idea in my head of like that Batman joins the Justice League, like he wasn't already there before. I don't know, I just want to see what they do with that and what they do with those versions of those characters and where the story goes, just again because one of the things I admire about what they've done with Batman is the wild swings they took with that character, and they weren't afraid to do some pretty like big things to establish characters. So like honestly, I even if the shooting is or like the moment to moment gameplay is just like fine, like I think wanting to see the story will be enough to propel me through it. But obviously I hope that everything else around it winds up being better than, I don't know, maybe some people expect or think it will be.
Yeah, and it's also, I like that like when the Justice League is captured by Brainiac and brainwashed, they seemingly retain all of their personality traits, but they're just like them on Brainiac's team. So it's not just like a husk floating through the air as Superman. It's like, no, like when you're fighting the Flash, these are all things that the Flash would say if he was feeling normal, but he's just like, Team Brainiac 100%. So it's like, you're still like fighting the Flash, but he's saying, and like same thing with like Batman. Like you hear like Batman like barking orders because there's like a part where like you can intercept like radio transmissions, and you hear him like talking, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's definitely like the Batman that we know, but like he's doing stuff that Batman would never do.
So like 5 guys.
Well, there's some things you said today that I'm like, And then other parts, I don't know. I'm so excited to play. But I do think it's super helpful for the us three on the call and also all the listeners. I think the fact that you were able to get several hours worth of playtime is pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't believe it's so close.
Yeah.
I know. I almost wish it was another month out, just because playing it and talking about it and like going back to the Arkhamverse really makes me want to replay all of those games.
You do not have time.
I do not have time. No, maybe I could get through Arkham Asylum, but that would be about it. But yeah, like, I don't know. I love those games so much. and I'm with you. Like, I think that I'm most excited to like explore this universe again and like see it from a completely different angle. You know, you're not the Cape Crusader. You're one of 4 convicts who were put in Arkham Asylum, and now you're escaping with a bomb in your head. So it's like a completely different viewpoint, and you're fighting heroes who have fallen from grace thanks to a brainwashing alien. So it's like a completely different universe that takes place in Arkham universe, right? Like it's not
absolutely.
like the Arkham. It's definitely not the state of the Arkhamverse as we left it when Arkham Knight concluded.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm very excited, because it's like, all right, some stuff has gone down, and I'm excited. It's like almost like when Pokemon Gold and Silver wrapped up, and you went back to Kanto, and you're like, all right, that volcano erupted and destroyed like Cinnabar Island. Like,
yeah.
All right, let's see what else has happened in this world. Let's see.
Hundreds of people died on that island. Wow.
So like, yeah, it's stuff like that where I'm really excited to see, like, learn more about the state of this world in the passage of time.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what Rocksteady's good at, is that world building, that environmental storytelling and showcasing. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, Brian. I know you've got to go. If folks want to bug you on social media with any questions, you can reach out to Brian at Brian P. Shea on Instagram, Twitter, all the places. Brian, thanks for coming on. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. Brian had to step away, but Marcus and Wes are still here, and we're going to be diving into Wesley's Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown review. Heads up, he gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Very high score from Wes.
Yeah, my second 9.5. So technically my highest score, I've given it GI.
Yeah.
Liza P also got that score, which if you know, I'm a big proponent of the P community. Liza P is kind of my jam, so giving this a 9.5 is a big deal for me.
Another P game.
The Prince of P.
Prince of Persia. Yeah, Prince of P.
I'm a big fan of these Ps. Yeah,
or is he the P of Persia?
I think Prince.
Well,
of P.
you don't even play as the prince.
Yeah, true.
Coincidentally, so
you play as Sargon, right?
Yeah. I'm looking for Prince Ghassan.
Yeah. So run us through how the game is, Wes. What are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, so I start my review off with a line that I'm very happy got kept, like, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be, which is the Prince of Persia series has a long and storied history going back decades, and I know none of it because I have not played Prince of Persia really at all. I think I played a PSP Prince of Persia maybe because I have distant memories of a UMD with something of Prince of Persia on it, but I couldn't tell you a thing about it. So this was kind of my first foray into Prince of Persia. And if it's any indication of what this series is, I deeply regret not playing this series sooner, because, man, Lost Crown is so good.
I don't know, Wes. That seemed like a really long run-on sentence. You might want to.
Yeah. That's
might want to have some periods in there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We're still going through edits. You know,
couple uhs in there you can maybe get rid of in the text version.
I text to speech all my reviews. So, that's for Brian, our reviews editor, to fix, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, so this is a Metroidvania 2D take on Prince of Persia, which, from what I can gather, is kind of where the series started, was at least 2D. And it wasn't even really on my radar. I know, Alex, that you came out of SGF last year really stoked about this game. And Kyle did a recent preview, and he was like, I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm upset that I have to put this down. But for some reason, I was still just like, I don't know. Like, I've seen trailers, like, it's fine. It's like a 2D Prince of Persia game, whatever. And then, like, sure enough, that first day that I got it, I played for like 3 to 4 hours straight, and I was like, I tell you what, the boys were right. This game kicks ass. And yeah, fast forward like a couple days, and I'm rolling credits because this was a game that I'm playing during work hours. I get off work and I keep wanting to play. And then all of a sudden I'm playing till literally like 2:30, 3:30 a.m. at night. This past weekend was a very late weekend because I could not put this game down. So basically, you're not the Prince of Persia, which I think is either the first time in the series or a rarity, at least, because you typically play as the prince. But no, you play as Sargon. He's one of 7 immortal warriors. who basically are like these superhero-esque figures that protect Persia and its queen and the Prince of Persia, which is Prince Ghassan.
Yeah,
He's
not
kidnapped.
actually immortal though.
No, not
That's
even.
just what they call themselves.
Yeah, very. They're a humble group, of course.
It's like the movies, they should be called Mission Possible because they're never impossible.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Just
I
little
need
things
to
like
watch
that bug
latest
me,
one still.
you know?
Yeah.
Just call yourself
we need-
mortals, not immortals. If you
mean,
can
that's-
die,
I mean, you don't want to share your weakness as your name. Like Superman doesn't call himself Kryptonite Man.
I feel like
Batman. It's just, I mean,
I feel like that
right
makes
there,
them tougher though. It's like we're wearing our weakness on our sleeves and we're still gonna kick your ass.
yeah, I respect it.
Okay.
Like
Batman,
if
that's what Batman does.
Yeah, if Superman
it's-
flew around with like a I hate kryptonite t-shirt and was like killing dudes despite getting hit by kryptonite.
Yeah, Batman says like a good bullet will put me down. Man.
Yeah.
One single bullet in the right spot. Yeah. But yeah, Prince Ghassan is kidnapped and the immortals are sent to Mount Qaf, QAF, I believe it's Qaf. And they have to basically go and find the prince. And what entails is, for me, a 21-hour fantastic Metroidvania adventure where you are I don't know, it's kind of doing all the typical Metroidvania things, but super, super well. There's the progression of mechanics and combat and abilities, and you're finding new things, and you're seeing this chamber you can't go into because you probably don't have a double jump that hopefully you get later. Like, it's all there, and the formula works really well. But for me, the thing that I get out of Metroidvanias is a lot of fun and fascinating exploration and platforming, and usually the combat kind of falls to the wayside a bit for me. Not that it's bad, but like I'm always left wanting more out of combat.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the parts where Lost Crown really succeeds, is this combat is so good. From the rip, it's a very parry-centric type of combat system, and I love a good parry in a video games, and this one has a great parry. But like what starts is simple, a couple hits here and there and a parry so that you don't die. Throughout the entire game, like all the way to the end, you're picking up new mechanics and mastering advanced combos. And now you've got a bow and arrow that you can shoot halfway through your combo to extend it and turn what is 3 hits into 6 and so on. And it's just something that I fell in love with, and it kind of continued to the end. It never really let up for me.
Yeah, it's very because I put a lot of time into this game too, and I too am loving it. Like the combat is very almost fighting game like in terms of the nuance that it has. Like you mentioned, like learning how to extend your combos and use your weapons in ways where you maintain your momentum, because you can air juggle people, and like if you know how to combine your abilities, they will never hit the ground. Like you can actually keep lifting them higher, which is actually great because the enemies in this game are like tough, which is another surprise. Or like, oh yeah, like I've died so many times in the game and the enemies hit hard, and it's almost like Souls-like in the sense of like a regular enemy will absolutely eviscerate you if you don't take it seriously.
And there's like timing with your hits too. I don't know if you've unlocked it yet, but there's an amulet that I got that I would highly recommend upgrading when you get it, but it makes it so where you can extend your combo from 3 to 4, upgrade it to 4 to 5, upgrade it from 5 to 6. But to extend that combo, on your 3rd hit, you have to hit a button a 4th time to like unlock the 4th hit. And then it keeps going from there. So you can't even like button mash your way through it. Kind of speaking to your fighting game analogy, like, yeah, you really need to get good at timing and figuring out, okay, don't hit now, dodge, parry. It's awesome. It's so good.
Yeah, it's and I also recommend, like, there's a character you meet early on who's pretty much like teaches you like tutorials for each sort of mechanic, and he's optional. And like I feel like that character in a lot of games, it's easy to sort of like wave them off like, I'll figure it out on my own enemy, because it's just like, take basically classes where he'll teach you how to do stuff. I honestly think everyone should talk to this guy, because he's taught me, he teaches so many like mechanics that the game does not teach you, of like, hey, you have a bow and arrow, but you can also throw the bow like a boomerang, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. But then he teaches like, hey, did you know that you can parry that boomerang when it comes back to you, and you can keep parrying it, so you're sending it back to the opponent constantly as long as you parry it? It's like, I didn't even consider doing that. I didn't know that was a possibility. And then you're like, oh, well, now I'm going to do this all the time. And like, what else can I use because you're unlocking like different traversal abilities too that I won't
Okay,
spoil,
yeah, there's
but
like,
they're
yeah.
yeah, and you're like, okay, you think about using it just for like the base purpose of like you see it used in one puzzle, you're like, okay, any situation like that, I guess that's what this is for. But then that guy will be like, oh, you can use this in combat, right? And you're like, how? And he's like, like one of them's like basically like a teleport move, or like you can make a copy of yourself. And he's like, if you charged your attack and then made a copy and then did another charge attack, you can undo 2 charge attacks because you'll do yours and then you'll do the charge attack from the copy of yourself that you stored. And you're like, no, I I didn't think that was a thing.
And you wouldn't know to do that at all. Like it's a pretty advanced like combo. And
Yeah.
when you're doing the tutorials, it has it might have been Street Fighter last year that did this, I forget, but it puts the moves in order that you need to do on the side of the screen.
Yeah.
And as you complete them, it like highlights green, oh nope, you didn't do it fast enough, so you got to restart the combo. So it's like it's not just showing you the move, it's like making sure you understand the timing and exactly how to use it and in what situation.
Yeah.
And then if you're still like, I don't want to do any tutorials, you also get currency from doing it. And
Yeah, you get paid pretty well actually for it.
yeah, and currency's not super abundant in the game. Once you get to like towards the end where you're upgrading your health costs like 4,000 of whatever the shards are. So like even if you're someone who doesn't think they need a tutorial, it's worth checking out at least for the currency.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of something. Speaking of combat, the boss fights. I don't know how many you guys have done, but there's like a good handful of them, and they are extremely tough. And something I like a lot about them is that they are almost like skill checks for what you've learned so far, like in Sargon's toolkit. You can't like, I don't want to spoil like abilities or anything, but basically to defeat a boss, it is aware that, okay, to get to me, you have gotten this ability, you have this ability, and you can probably do this and this as well. And I'm going to do certain moves that force you to dodge out of the way using this one special technique, or you can only attack me using this one special technique. And it's really cool because first fight, I'm just kind of getting my grip on the boss and I'm attacking when I can, not really having a strategy. And then as you're watching the fight play out, I'm like, oh, I need to be doing this at this moment. It's forcing me to use these different techniques where it's almost like a dance. It's like, I don't know, any game where you have to learn a boss, but instead of just learning how to dodge or counter, you're having to use like your entire arsenal of abilities, which I really, really like because I'm the kind of person who will just default to having high health and attacking as often as possible, as opposed to like using my different techniques.
Yeah, and you can also almost make like builds based on like your own sort of like play style because of your amulets. So like I parry a lot. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna put on like mostly counter like amulets of like, okay, now I've got this amulet where every time I parry, I get a little bit of the energy meter that you use for your special move. And then also one where like, oh, if I parry, it creates this time bubble where like anyone in that bubble, it like slows down time because surprise, time manipulation is a big thing in a Prince of Persia game, including this one. So it's like, okay, like I'm gonna maybe do that. And so like I have a lot of amulets now, and you can kind of see like, and there's been times where I've mixed and matched, depending on the situation of like, okay, I'm going into this area with these kind of enemies. I think this amulet would be better for that. So even then, like there's a lot of sort of like depth in terms of like how you can build Sargon.
And they kind of, there's some that are like there's some that I kept on the entire time. Like one of the parry ones you mentioned, I had on pretty much my entire experience. But there's other ones where, I'm in a new biome and one of the first hidden items I find is an amulet that like increases frost resistance. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't even know that frost was a thing. I haven't encountered any frost or frozen. And then sure enough, like 2 minutes later, I'm fighting an enemy that can freeze me to death, or not freeze me to death, but freeze me and then attack me while I'm frozen. And I'm like, okay, I see what is happening here. And so you'll find yourself switching your amulets like throughout each biome to kind of match a build to that biome, which is cool because I am also the type of person who probably wouldn't do that if I wasn't pushed to do it. I kind of stick to what loot I have and get comfortable with, as opposed to like creating a build. And notably, I don't know where you guys are playing this, but on PS5, the entire thing is 4K 120 frames per second, which is like It's just unreal. For a fast-paced Metroidvania like this, where I'm constantly moving, like nonstop, that's what this game is all about. I struggled to take screenshots for my review because you're just moving all the time. It is so buttery smooth, and I didn't encounter any bugs or any frame drops or anything like that. So I would encourage people to play it wherever you can.
Yeah, I'm on Xbox. I assume it's comparable there.
Yeah, they there's I think it is the same. I think there's a patch coming out to like do something. I don't know, something like that. But yes, it is also 4K 120, and even Switch is 60 frames per second, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo's own first-party games sometimes struggle to even get to 30 consistently. So yeah, very great. And then on the other side of the Lost Crown formula is the exploration, and we've kind of touched on it, but a lot of the abilities you get are both like combat abilities and abilities that you will use while exploring Mount Koff. And the puzzles in the game, like the platforming puzzles, are so fun and also very challenging. There are times where to get like a hidden currency at the end of this hallway, I have to like use everything in my arsenal to not touch the ground. And it's like a 30-second platforming segment where I am not touching anything. I'm just like dash, double jump, grapple, dash, like, and if you mess up, you get sent right back to the beginning.
It reminds me of like
which is nice.
Celeste, which I loved.
Yes.
That really intense platforming.
I was just talking about this game on All Things Nintendo with Brian, and I had mentioned Celeste because I know Super Meat Boy did it first, but Celeste was the one for me where Metroidvania, you die and you're instantly reset. And now I don't ever want to play a Metroidvania like that, where I have to like load because it's just humiliating. And Lost Crown is great about that. So I was rarely frustrated with dying because I'm right back into the action and I know exactly what I did wrong. And it is like that trial and error type of thing where, oh, okay, I got farther. Oh, boom, you just got hit by some spikes. Okay, now I know when those spikes come, I need to double jump over them.
Yeah, which is honestly, I mean, that's classic Prince of Persia, is those like platforming gauntlets. Like, okay, like you're gonna, you see the path ahead, like there's all these weird traps and spinning spikes, and you got poles that you got to swing on, and then walls you got to run. You're like, okay, I think I see what I have to do here, and you just have to pull it off in like split seconds as you're jumping through, and then something comes out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, I think I can hit that platform. And it's like, as a big Prince of Persia fan, seeing the platforming mechanics from the Sands of Time games and like the more 3D games of like, oh yeah, like you're sliding down walls to like to try to sort of like control your descent, and you're doing the pole swinging, and like so much of the animation is taken from those like Sands of Time games, but just sort of like repurposed in 3D. So it's sort of almost like a fun nod to that lineage, just seeing it here. And I can even feel some of my like dormant Prince of Persia like platforming behaviors reemerge here of like, okay, like this behaves the same way, this kind of jump. I just have to do it in like a 2D space, but I've done this before, and this is kind of cool. And like combined with the traversal ability, some of which are like I mean, there's like a dash you get that's like straight up Mega Man X, so like an air dash. You're like, oh, okay. And I've always loved, like, I don't know if Mega Man X is the first one to do it, but it's the first game I ever played that had an air dash. And like, I'm a sucker for that in any Metroidvania. So like having that combined with like the existing fun like toolkit of the Prince platforming, I'm like, yes, these are two of my favorite styles of platforming.
Every time I got a new, they're called time powers, which are like the big like game-changing abilities. The Metroidvania like eureka moment is so good. Like when you unlock a dash or the double jump, and you're like, oh, that's how I'm supposed to go to there, or that's why I couldn't do this earlier. It's just every single one of the powers is like an awesome boon to like Sargon's moveset. And by the
doing so much in this game.
Yes.
Like every time you jump around and do like anything, like I've noticed that even the animation accounts for the way you would change directions on a dime in a way that other games don't, where like there's times where like I'm gonna jump forward and then I cancel and I'm gonna jump back. And there's an animation for that. It's not like the jarring, like, okay, now I'm just going back, and there's no like, it's just like a quick frame. But like,
he like backflips, he front flips depending on how you pushed the stick. Like when you're moving, there's a, like you can, if you dash and then press a certain button, like he'll kick after his dash. Like it's like, it makes it look purposeful of like, oh, I was making an adjustment, but it almost looks like he
did that, like he planned to
Yeah.
do that. So like you fake out an opponent, or you're just like, nope, I'm not gonna get hit by that thing that suddenly popped up that I saw coming. And like that has added a layer of coolness on top of like, oh, I'm so glad I just pulled that off, but also like, oh, it looks as cool as it feels in my head.
Yeah. Something really cool that I like too is every ability is mapped. There's not many, but every ability is like mapped to a different button on the controller. So it's not like what's an example? Like Spider-Man 2, for example, where you're like holding one button to unlock 4 options and then you press a button. And what's really cool about that in a game where you're just constantly moving like this is like you'll be doing a platforming segment that's like 30 seconds long and you're like X, X, L1, R3, L3, R2, L1, X square. And it's like, you just feel like a little god on a controller. It's like, it feels so good. And to finally like, okay, you did it. You hit every button in sequence perfectly. And because it's all in their own individual buttons, you're never like breaking up the pacing or the flow of his movements, which just gives this entire game like this incredible speed. Like it's, Disney Illusion Island last year did the same thing. Like I get the sense that you could just play this game and go from like the start of it to the end of it without stopping if you were good enough. Like you can, it just gives you that free flowing like ability, and it's so fun. It's hard to put down.
Yeah, I mean, I always think of like, I think Giant Bomb always has like a category for the game of the years of like it's like best getting around or best locomotion. I feel like this game is already like an early contender for that, because like just moving from point A to point B feels so good in these games, which is, again, that was always a hallmark from Prince of Persia from the beginning, whether it was the original game that was, hailed for like how realistic the animations were because of the rotoscoping, versus the Sands of Time trilogy, which revolutionized 3D platforming at the time. And now this might be one of the slickest, if not the slickest, like 2D Metroidvania I've ever played, just from like a platforming and movement perspective.
Even even against something like Will of the Wisps.
I haven't played that.
For me, yeah, that's actually the game that I was thinking. The Ori
I feel like
games
that's
I was
the
thinking a lot
standard.
about.
Oh, you're talking about Ori.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second Ori game I feel like is currently like my standard for like a 2D Metroidvania.
That's stiff competition. The Ori games.
That's a game I thought a lot about while playing this, and I think Lost Crown might be my new standard, specifically because of how much I enjoyed the combat. I think Ori's locomotion is like fantastic, but its combat wasn't. Its combat was great, but my door's making weird noises. But like Lost Crown has both of those on equal level. Like combat and the exploration are nailing it. And in my review, I mean, I straight up call it, like in the opening paragraph, like I think Lost Crown is going to be a new Metroidvania classic. It's modern. It feels great. My biggest issue with it is the story is not like super compelling to me. It's a good story, and there are twists and turns that genuinely surprised me. But
did you find out they're actually mortal and not immortals? Was that the twist?
yeah. It was really heartbreaking for me to find out that this guy's heart could stop moving or stop beating. Turns out he's mortal. But no, like the reason I was moving through the game was because like I had an objective in the corner that was like, go here. And it wasn't because I was like, I didn't really have a grasp on why I was doing things. Like I was just like, okay, I'm going here because that's what this game is telling me to do. I didn't necessarily feel super compelled to do that. Let me take a quick break. My door's a noise. I don't know if that's picking up.
I have some things I
go for it, Marcus.
Game, but like,
Wes, go fix your door.
But since we were talking about exploration, one thing this game does that I'm always amazed that all modern Metroidvanias don't do is that
that was so quick.
The National Weather Service was telling my like little camera on the door that there's a storm, as if I didn't know there's a storm outside my window,
and as if you didn't have windows. Sorry, I was saying this game does something that I've always loved for Metroidvanias that do it, is that you have the ability to mark things on the map. Like you can place pins of different sort of like symbols to indicate like, okay, I found like an obstacle here that I can't, pass yet, but I don't want to forget that. So, I'm going to put that here. And there are some games that the game automatically marks for you, but there's a lot of stuff that you'll just find incidentally. They're like, okay, clearly I need some sort of like double jump or there's like a boss here that I can't get past. So I'm going to put a mark here.
You need that journal side to like take notes.
But this game also does something I haven't seen in these, where you can literally just take screenshots, basically, of like the
Yeah, they're
area
called
itself. Like
memory
you just,
shards.
yeah, memory shards, and you literally just hit like down the D-pad, and it takes a screenshot of the screen and then pins it there, so that if you can see exactly what it is that you're like, okay, what was the problem here, and you just hover over and like,
And you're like,
oh,
oh,
right,
yeah,
there's a chest
visual.
up there. That's right. Okay. So it's like you don't have to remember to, because even sometimes when you leave a pin, you're like, what did that pin represent exactly?
Yeah,
You
Yeah, because
know?
it has pins with like it reminds me of Tears of the Kingdom's pins, like not the colored ones, but like the ones with a chest on it or a skull. And I
Yeah.
was using those to be like, okay, I died here, or there's a chest I can't get. But the memory shards allow you to just straight up see like, oh yeah, that's that puzzle with the pink gem that I couldn't figure out, and now I've got this ability. I think that's what's going to help me to do it.
Yeah. Because
And
sometimes
it's
pens aren't representative of everything. You're like, what's the
Yeah.
best pen for this weird thing that I just found? It's not really a boss, but it's, I don't know what to put. I'll put the closest thing, I guess. And then in my brain, hopefully I'll translate it to that hours later when I can get to it.
it's such a no-brainer like feature that it's like surprising that 2024 is the year that it's happening in Metroidvanias. I'm sure there's games who've done something like this before, but
There are.
not that I've played. And now moving forward, like I need Metroidvanias and really any type of game where you're collecting a bunch to have a memory shard alongside the pins, because it's such a nice it's great. It's a nice quality of life feature.
And it doesn't like make the game easier of like, I've already done the work of like, I found this already. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I just need to remember that I need to come back here later, and the map is
Yeah.
so big that I don't have time to be running around to every like, could I, because you run back and you go like, oh, I can't come here still. Like I got a new thing, but
Yeah.
the new thing still doesn't help. So I guess I'll come back later, and you just wait
And
for
like-
a bunch of time going back to it.
In a lot of games, your only marker for that would be, okay, I didn't uncover the map here, so I must have gotten blocked by something. Whereas now you can be like, oh, it's because I wasn't able to jump far enough, and now I have an ability that lets me jump far enough, so I can go back to there. Yeah, it's awesome. I do
also
want to
like
touch on
that,
the.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, real quick, I just want to say that I think it's cool that this game is continuing Ubisoft's like recent tradition of having a guided mode and an exploration mode, where if you
Yeah.
or like if you, because the game asks you in the beginning which one you want, and guided mode is more or less the default mode of like, or like default of like a Metroidvania. We're like, yeah, the main objective will be indicated, so if you ever want to chase that, where it is, and like other like things on the map will be automatically highlighted. But if you want to go in completely blind and just, I guess, almost play like a super old school Metroidvania, where like you gotta see it to mark it, you can play in exploration mode, and then you're completely basically on your own.
Yeah. It's yeah, they do that in like everything now. Avatar did it, Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed I think started it. It's really cool. I forget which mode I played on, but
I'm playing on guided just because it's like Metroidvania's like, they're again for the same reason of like,
Yeah.
okay, if I found it already, then just mark it. I don't want to have
Yeah.
to do the
Yeah.
guessing work of like, can I go here now?
yeah. In terms of like other options, I want to touch on the accessibility options in the game, because it has a pretty robust suite, especially for the Metroidvania genre, which I feel like sometimes doesn't really have much thought put into those types of options. But like you can do a lot. You can adjust the parry window both ways. If you want it to be easier to parry, you can do that. If you want it to be harder, you can do that. You can adjust how much damage you take on hits, how much damage enemies take. And there's even portals. There's even an option to put portals at platforming sections that when turned on, you just walk through the portal and it takes you to the other end of the platforming section. So like if the platforming is if it's too difficult for you, or you don't like platforming, or it's pissing you off or something, you can just swap that on real quick, portal to the end. Same with bosses. Like if you're stuck on a boss and you're like, I don't care to learn this, like let me just make it easy, give them a couple hits, like you can do that. And there's a lot more too. So like definitely check out the accessibility options in the game, because they do there's a lot, and it's really cool to see in a Metroidvania, because I think it is one of the more difficult genres out there, and I think a lot of people might want to experience it because it's a really popular genre, but there might be barriers in the way, like it's the platforming is too difficult, or the combat might be too challenging, or too timely based, and you want something that's like not so reliant on time. And it's cool to see Lost Crown and Ubisoft Montpellier address that with their options.
Yeah, it's the Rayman studio.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That checks out
the
so
modern
much.
Rayman games. Yeah, so like in terms of
Yeah,
like smooth as butter platforming, they know what they're doing.
I never should have doubted this game then, because that studio rocks. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm so happy that this game is as good as it is. Like I feel like this series needed a win. like this because of how long it's been, and also just all the weirdness with the Sands of Time remake and not really knowing what the status of that is. Even
it's been over a decade since like a big release of I think there's been like mobile things like Prince of Persia Escape 2, I think is like an endless runner or something on mobile, but like the last big release was over a decade ago.
Yeah, Forgotten Sands, which was not a movie tie-in, but it released to coincide with the Jake Gyllenhaal movie in 2010. So yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, I also learned because I did a lot of research into Prince of Persia after this review because I like this franchise a lot now. It's not like it's a Ubisoft series, but it started like in 1989.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's like a 30-decade series, which kind of blew my mind.
That's why I've been annoyed with people online looking at this game and saying, I can't believe they turned this into a 2D side scroller. That's not what Prince of Persia is. And it's like, okay, clearly you jumped into the series with the Sands of Time trilogy.
Yeah.
It started as a 2D
rotoscope,
side scroller.
pixel art.
Yeah, it's like it's not. I mean, I guess it is their fault because it's like just do basic research, but it's like you can see the generational gap there a bit.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, it's like, but yeah, it's because I'm playing the making of Karateka right now. So Jordan Mechner, who is the creator of Prince of Persia, has been on my mind a lot in general. So this is kind of coming out at a serendipitous time of like, oh, just your other big franchise like Karateka and this are all coming out, even though he stopped working on the Prince games a long time ago.
Well, he consulted on this, I think. In Kyle's recent feature, they said that they, I don't know the extent of it. It wasn't super clear, but like he was not a part of the development, but like consulted and kind of like gave them pointers on bringing back Prince of Persia to this like 2D space, I think.
Yeah. They sat down with his dad at a piano and they were like, what do you think? Sorry, I'm playing a lot of Karateka. I have all my Jordan Mechner references right now are him talking to his very sweet dad in front of his piano about video games.
That's awesome.
That's
also a good reminder. I need to check that out still. The making of Karateka.
But yeah, I guess to sum up the Lost Crown, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, I gave it a 9.5. My big like thesis statement is like, a lot of video games are these story-focused, almost like movie-like cinematic experiences. Prince of Persia: Lost Crown is kind of a good reminder that like video games are games and like gameplay is king when done right. And this is one of those instances where I'm like, yeah, if I can't getting my hand off the controller is tough with Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. It is just a sublime game to actually play, and it's worth your time if you're interested in Prince of Persia, if you're interested in Metroidvanias, if you're interested in anything it's doing, definitely check it out. I think you'll have a good time.
Kicking the year off strong.
Yeah. And now we very slow 2024. Nothing coming out anytime soon.
Is this our game of the year so far?
I think
I
think
so, yeah. I think so.
It's my personal game of the year.
Yeah,
it's the Hi-Fi Rush.
I mean, I haven't even started it, but I haven't played another new game yet. So, I've been playing a lot of old stuff. I've been catching up on the Yakuza storyline. Finish off the story for Yakuza Like a Dragon, as well as Like a Dragon, the Man Who Erased His Name. So I'm all ready and prepared for Infinite Wealth. So that's like my big January game. I think it'll probably be Prince of Persia and Infinite Wealth once I get a chance to play it. So I'm really stoked on that. I've also been playing a lot of World of Warcraft.
Saw you
since the break, and I've convinced. I now have like 8 other people making new characters with me. So I was at a cabin over New Year's with Stadnik, former host of this show, and him and 2 of his childhood best friends, who are also 2 of my good friends now, Joe and Ryan. They were watching me play Season of Discovery, which is like this new mode in World of Warcraft Classic that flips things on its head, and you can have all sorts of like interesting modifiers essentially to classic characters. Like for instance, like mages can get like healing spells and become healers, or rogues can get new modifiers that make them into tanks, stuff like that. It's just like kind of like flipping WoW on its head. It's very popular right now. Season of Discovery is what it's called. But anyways, I was playing that while at this cabin. And they're like, "Oh, I've always wanted to play WoW," and I was just like, "I'll start a new character with you." And this has evolved into like now there's like a small Discord, and like there's like 8 or 9 people who are jumping in.
You have a guild? Is that what it's called? A guild? Clan?
Not yet, but we will. Got to come up with a good
Okay.
name. Got to come up with a good name.
The WoW Boys.
Yeah, that could be it. Don't think it's gonna be though, Marcus. That was. If you have any other suggestions that are better than that, there used to be one of my favorite guilds from back in the day was.
Wow, I can't believe it's Warcraft.
Yeah, that's good.
I hope you have enough characters for if they allow
Yeah.
that. But,
There's a lot of stuff that actually is maybe not appropriate to say on the show, but like good puns with like PvP, like PvP-ness, stuff like that.
Lies of
yeah.
PvP.
Yeah, yep.
Ooh, I'd play World of Warcraft if that was my guild name.
So there's a place in the game called Booty Bay, and I think
Really?
yep, and I think one of my favorite guild names that I came up with. I was most of the time I just steal another guild that I see on a different server. I'm like, that's a cool name. We don't have one of those on this server. I'm gonna be that. But one of my OG Alex Van Aken originals is Booty Baywatch.
Ooh, that's good.
So I might bring that back for
Booty Bay sounds like a Jessica Rabbit style like seductress. Like
no,
if
it's
you
like
spelled-
pirates, like Booty Bay. Arr.
I know, but if you spelled Bay like BAE,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I just picture like a Jessica Rabbit looking girl and like being like, they call me Booty Bay,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, okay.
Um,
Why do they call you that?
Yeah, you don't have to answer that, Miss Booty Bay. Not on this
'Cause I'm
family-friendly
rich,
show.
that's why.
Yeah.
A good
But
year to get into World of Warcraft, right? It sounds like
yeah,
2024
Cataclysm is coming back to Classic.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to
Which
dive
is
into
weird
that.
because like that was the point where it stopped being classic was when Cataclysm happened.
Exactly. And
So
you,
it's
you
like
can
a weird,
opt in. You can opt in. So some servers are going to, stay on Wrath of the Lich King or Burning Crusade, and you can decide if you want to keep going.
Would it bring back that panda one that everyone?
That's
was,
the one
like,
after
mad about at the
Cataclysm.
time?
Mists of Pandaria.
Like I've never played WoW, but I know some things just from like cultural osmosis. But I remember when the panda one coming out, that was the first time I'd heard like the WoW people being like, "What are they doing? What is
Yeah.
this?" Like so, like
That one,
has
and then
that
they
come
had-
around where people went like, "Oh, this wasn't so bad. We're nostalgic for it now."
A lot of
bring it
people
back."
tend to like that one now. I think, the one that was really bad was after Pandaria. Like Pandaria was kind of like it's starting to like plateau and go downhill because like it had peaked in Lich King, which was the second expansion, and then the third was Cataclysm. It's like okay, it's kind of cool that they made the world all different. That's kind of cool, but like the stories, okay. Then we're going to Mists of Pandaria, and then when Warlord of Draenor hits, it's just like going off a cliff.
I mean, how do you follow pandas? I mean,
And that's where they start messing with like the timeline. You're starting to go back in time. The story's not making much sense anymore for new players returning. And then it's it is now a very WoW retail's really cool for like collecting items, like getting new mounts, grinding for collectibles, PvE, PvP, really fun. The WoW retail storyline is kind of a mess. You have to like travel through time to get to certain timelines if you want to play like old stuff. So like if you're like really nostalgic for like that WoW story, go play classic, but like these people are like the people I'm playing with are like just trying to play it casually. So I'm going to guide them through retail and get us ready for the next trilogy, which kicks off at the end of this year.
War Within.
The War Within. That's supposed to be coming out later this year. So yeah, it's a good time to get back into WoW. It's also kind of like my winter game. It's just it's my favorite game. It's my comfort game. So like I'll just usually in the wintertime I get a little sad. It's not sunny out anymore. It's not supposed to be -11 next week here.
oh Lord Jesus.
You just like you start to find the things that bring you comfort and cling to them. And WoW is one of those
You
things
hug your
for me.
computer because it gets really hot playing. WoW.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been kind of playing a lot of older stuff too. Like I downloaded Rainbow Six Siege recently. I just kind of got the hankering to play some Siege. And and I've been really enjoying that. So yeah, kind of just like clinging to some comfort games, getting ready for the big slate of releases. I think Yakuza is like the big one I'm kind of got my eyes on. I want to make this like the year of RPGs for Alex Van Aken. I want to play Persona 3 Reload. I want to play
they're
Metaphor,
sure.
ReFantazio.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like biding my time till I get these big games, but having a good time doing so. Do you all, speaking of upcoming games, do you all, before we end the show, last week we kind of mentioned maybe going through, last week we went through like the current slate of confirmed releases on our calendar. And then we were talking about, hey, maybe next week, we'll go through the TBA games that are like slated for sometime in 2024 and beyond. Kind of go through the ones that like pique our interest that we want to highlight. Do you guys want to do that real quick?
Yeah. So we're starting with the TBA games that are said to be coming 2024 but don't have dates.
Yeah. GameInformer.com/2024 if you want to follow along at home or just reference it. It's a great page to bookmark because we are always updating it with new release dates and new platforms.
I did today.
Yeah. See,
I do most days, honestly.
Yeah. There's typically something to update. How do we want to do this? I don't think we need to go through every single entry.
Just call it out, whatever you see.
Okay, yeah. I guess we'll start with the A. We'll just go alphabetical order. But one game that I want more people to know about and to pay attention to in 2024 is Angerfoot. It's developed by Free Lives and published by Devolver Digital. It's sort of a 3D Hotline Miami. And like one of the big reasons it's called Angerfoot is like you are a character who loves to kick things and like you are breaching doors. Like imagine like Hotline Miami, right? Like Hotline Miami, you can see the entire map, right? And that's kind of how you plan. And this, your view is obfuscated by walls and doorways and you're in like a building. And so that's kind of like where the challenge lies. Like, okay, I don't know exactly where these people are in here. So I've kind of got to kick through these doors, kick them down. I played the demo of it in a previous Steam Next Fest. Really cool, really worth checking out. You might have to like dig for the demo, but I know developers they're only able to get on Steam Next Fest one time before they launch. Yeah. So they picked one like I want to say like last summer I played this game, but it's called Angerfoot and it's currently slated for PC. I feel like we should highlight Animal Well, which is that first game from Big Mode, which is like Donkeys. And
yeah. I played that at or I can't remember if I played it or watched someone play it at the first Summer Games Fest that you and I went to, Alex.
Yeah.
Like it was one of the kiosks there.
Yeah, I didn't get to play it. It was this past summer, yeah. And I didn't get a
like
chance
2 summers ago, technically. At least the one that because it was the first Summer Games Fest.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
But yeah, that game seemed really cool, and that's when I've also had my eye on, sort of silently admiring from afar.
Yeah, that's fair.
Avowed is one I think is a big, maybe the first big on the list.
Yeah.
Obsidian, I think they've been on a roll lately. I've been playing a lot of Grounded with one of my best buds.
Yeah, Grounded's great.
Over the last few weeks. So I've been on an Obsidian kick. That game is very fun. But like coming off of that, and then Pentiment, which I love too, and The Outer Worlds, and being excited for that sequel, I think they've almost maybe quietly been like on a great like run recently with their stuff. So I'm confident this will kind of continue that. To see them doing what I guess we're all like everyone's kind of assuming or calling their take on Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I think that's
first person.
Yeah, it kind of RPG. Is very reminiscent of Skyrim. Even in like its animations and it's like first person, the field of view that you're working with, and like the relation of like the size of the weapons to the screen and the animations. I think it's very much invoking that feeling.
Yeah, I guess because like Outer Worlds was their Fallout, so to speak, even though they actually have a Fallout to their name. But it's like, I mean, again, if it's anywhere near as good as like Fallout New Vegas or Outer Worlds, which is a game I really enjoyed, I'm super stoked to see more of that, which we will be seeing next week in that recently announced Xbox Direct that they announced.
Developer _direct.
Yeah, what's the underscore for? I thought there was typo in the press release, but then I saw it over and over, and I was like, oh, I think that's just what they're That's
Google
just the
really likes
choice.
underscores. It's a big fan of the underscore in SEO, from what I've heard. So
Oh, really? Okay.
no,
Can't get enough.
I don't think so.
Um, Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never played Beyond Good and Evil, and I'm excited to see
Good.
why people are so rabid for a sequel with that. So I don't even know
Yeah.
what the game is. Like, couldn't tell you what the gameplay is. Gun to my head, I know it's like there's like a pig, I think, and like a girl.
There is a pig. Yes.
Yeah. That's all I know.
Take pictures. It's kind of got a Zelda-esque structure to it, like 3D Zelda style, but it's a very different game beyond that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play it, and then after you get the credits, they play a trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2. I'm sure that's what's gonna happen, right?
Finally.
We did skip over one. I want to call it Baby Steps.
Yes, so psyched for that.
Yeah. Bennett
I know we
Foddy's
talked about
next
it last
game.
week,
We
but-
did.
Yeah. But,
Another one, Big Boy Boxing, seems to be like a callback to Punch Out. Fun pixel graphics. Really like the character designs they're showing off. What else? Boundary is that one. Oh yeah, no. Blue Protocol is good. I skipped over that.
That's the Amazon games.
Yeah, I've played that.
Something.
Yeah, I played it at Summer Game Fest last
they're
summer.
publishing or developing that?
I think
So it's already been made in the West. It's developed by Bandai,
okay.
Okay.
and
So
Amazon is co-publishing alongside Bandai.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's
Oh,
an
yeah.
online ARPG, MMO. I've played it. I enjoyed it. It's very much a free to play MMO, for better and worse.
Yeah,
But I
guess
did.
we'll see.
I was really positive. I had a good time. I did like a dungeon with some folks, and it was cool. I liked it.
Okay. There's real quick the re-release of Clock Tower that Way Forward is putting out. But it's the very first Clock Tower that never came to the West, because I think people in America that thought they played Clock Tower 1, that was actually
2.
Clock Tower 2 in Japan.
Yeah.
But this is a Way Forward remaking or enhancing Clock Tower 1 and localizing it for the first time, which is cool if you're like a survival horror or even just a horror games fan / historian to get that. But that's supposed to come out like relatively early this year, so I'm psyched to give that a look, because I've never played it. So
Yeah, I want to see what Firewalk Studios is up to. It's the Sony multiplayer studio. They're working on a FPS in Concord. It's supposed to be like a arena multiplayer shooter, I think, right?
that was announced at like a Sony thing last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Is that one of the like 12 live service games PlayStation?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Working
ones
on
that
or
haven't gotten
something?
canceled recently. Yeah.
Oh yeah, now it's 6 instead of 12, I think.
Yeah.
They booted it down.
Concord survived the culling.
Yeah.
There's are we gonna say, Wes?
Deca Police. That's
Yeah.
the level 5 game. I'll be honest, I'm mostly excited because the reveal trailer, which happened in a direct recently, reminded me a lot of Astral Chain, and I'll take any Astral Chain, anything I can get. Very like anime-esque visuals. You're a police officer doing investigations, except instead of like action combat, it's like it looks kind of like turn-based RPG-ish. Maybe with like some real-time
5.
something in there. Yeah. But it just looks awesome. Give me anything close to Astral Chain, since Platinum doesn't want to make a sequel, I guess. And I'm there.
So that's why Camille left, because they wouldn't make an Astral Chain sequel. That was the
on him.
creative differences.
I respect it.
I think
Earthblade, I think we
yeah.
talked on last week, which is the next game by Extremely OK Games, the makers of Towerfall and Celeste. Their next game, kind of a Metroidvania action-looking fantasy game. I'll play anything by that team.
Or supposedly this year?
Allegedly,
yeah.
this year. Yeah.
That's so exciting. I feel like they announced that years ago. I know it was like probably like 1 or 2 years ago, but I can't wait.
Man, what else?
Final Fantasy: A Realm Reborn. Well, it's Final Fantasy 14 coming to Xbox this year.
And then Dawn
Beta,
Trail.
Yeah, next month. And Dawn Trail's kind of like not
New
hard
expansion.
reset, but a good jumping on point if you don't want to go through all the other stuff, because it's the start of a new saga. And yeah, they just did a big weekend reveal, and Marcus has a nice write up on it. But yeah, I mean, that's the MMO that just keeps giving. I'm slowly working my way through it, but based on what the community thinks of it, I can't wait to one day be showering it with praise like everyone else seems to do.
What I forgot about till I'm seeing it, and this may be jumping ahead, but Greedfall 2, The Dying World, which
Yeah.
I did not play the first
Spiders?
Greedfall, but yeah, spiders. But it was a game that always interested me. Just like I thought the premise was cool, but like hearing that it was like kind of middling overall.
Yeah.
Like it has cool ideas, but maybe didn't quite live up to them. So like this sequel's exciting because it's like, okay, this can be their Assassin's Creed 2 of like taking a good foundation and like, you know, fixing the problems of the first game. And I know that game has its fans, the first Greedfall. So I'm actually kind of interested in seeing what that looks like. Like, because I honestly I didn't think they would ever do a sequel to that game. I was like, oh, I guess did it sell well enough? Or but you know, maybe this is the one that gets the Greedfall train rolling in a bigger way.
I think a big one I want to highlight is Harold Halibut. It's the stop motion narrative game. The best thing I can say about it.
You were in high school.
Yeah, since like 2012. I was out of high school, but not too far after. Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing it's not developed by them, but I can say the best thing about it is it's gives off Double Fine vibes in the best way.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But it's not. It's by Slow Bros. And the game is all stop motion, handcrafted. They've been building sets for the game and like doll houses for it since 2012 ish when they started production.
Absurd
on
amount
it.
of work.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait to play this.
Wild.
I hope it's really good. Regardless, I think it's super interesting. And is just a really cool. It's like when we saw Cuphead for the first time. It's like, wow, this is just so different, you know. And regardless of the outcome, I respect them for doing something novel. What's next? Hyper Light Breaker. Really excited for. That's supposed to be this year. I believe it's going to be launching into early access. I heard. We have a really cool feature on this that we did earlier in the year by Charles in the magazine. Pretty cool.
Yeah, Little Nightmares 3 is a big one for me, as I love those first two games, especially I thought the second game was fantastic. I'm curious to see, because it's Supermassive developing this one and not Tarsier, who did the first two, which is, you know, Supermassive made Until Dawn and the Quarry and the Dark Pictures games, but they did
the port, the PS5 and Xbox Series X port of Little Nightmares 2, which isn't the same as like developing a new game, but
they
whenever they
side scrollers, because they helped on a Little Big Planet game, so like they have some experience with that.
You jumped ahead past the next installment in the Kingdom Hearts saga, Marcus. Kingdom Hearts Missing Link on iOS and Android,
which is now but you know, because of that series track record, is going to be like critical to understanding Kingdom Hearts 4, and I'm like,
of course,
I'm like not even kidding. Like,
no, and it's gonna
you feel guilty for not playing it.
It's gonna have like 4.5 years of story that will only make sense if you've caught up to Kingdom Hearts, and then you won't understand 4 if you don't play it. So
it's like,
I know I'm excited.
It's like, don't
make my own
this
Keyblade
Lisfanga, the Time Shift Warrior. This is that like new indie Quantic Dream published game. I played it at this past SGF, I want to say. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. You are kind of like fighting in time, and like you are essentially like you are overlooking this big arena, and like it's like several like subsequent arenas after that. It's like run a little bit, do an arena, do another one, and you're kind of like planning out your moves, and you only have a set number of moves, I believe, to defeat everyone. And so you are like using clones of yourself to like take out enemies, and like hit triggers, so that, okay, if my clone hits that trigger, my clone can get my next clone can get to this door and kill the enemy inside before time runs out. And so you're kind of like juggling all these different timelines. It's cool. Kind of reminds me of like like philosophically, not in like game, I guess, but like Super Time Force, how you would kind of manage
yeah.
your multiple timelines of yourself.
Yeah.
It's cool, and I think it's a student-led game as well, or started as one. So yeah, it was cool. Lysfanga, Lysfanga.
Easy game to Google.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe one of the weirdest ones, and I'm so fascinated to see this, is Multiverses comes back this year.
Yeah, so
what the
strange.
heck?
That weird story of like it came out and we thought it was out, but like they pulled it last year saying, okay, the beta period's done, and we were all collectively like, wait, that was the beta this whole time? Like it wasn't
You were
out?
charging
Was that-
$50 for a founder's
We
pack?
reviewed it.
They're
Yeah.
like you added characters that were like paid DLC. I know we were like, was that communicated? Or did we all know this? And they said, okay, we're gonna work on it and come back next year because of because the player count had declined and there were some complaints about like DLC. It was like there was stuff. But that's supposed to come back this year, and I'm really fascinated to see what they did to it for like I guess the actual real launch for sure this time. That's just such a weird little oddity.
I know it's
Yeah.
funny that you can look at our 2024 list, TBA, multiverses, and then there's a link to read reviews.
Splitgate did that too.
And it's not like it's a console
Yeah.
like port or anything like that. It's like, no, this is just the game that I guess we played a beta this whole time apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 2019-ish, Splitgate came out, and like
Yeah.
then like in 2021 suddenly Splitgate is out. I'm like, this game came out 2 years ago. But like,
Well, it went 1.0, but then the same time they said that this is 1.0. Also, we're not supporting this anymore. See you for the next game.
yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, this is a recent one. I know Metal Gear, the Solid Delta Snake Eater, confirmed for this year alongside the Silent Hill 2 remake, and that PlayStation 2024 showcase trailer just casually had those two games in there. I was like, yeah, these are 2024. We're not gonna focus on them. It's just part of a sizzle run. Like, wait, what? Those are just here now? Like, since when? Oh, okay. And Konami's not gonna put out separate trailers for those games? Like announcing that? That's odd.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's like, well, I mean, it's PlayStation saying that it is, so I guess it's true. Oh, it's just such a weird. I mean, I'm happy. I want to play both of those. But
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Pal World, which actually just got a release date today, I think.
Yeah, early access date next week.
Yeah,
goes
so we'll have to
into
update
early
that
access.
entry.
And it's coming in to Xbox too, which was new. It had only been announced for PC, but it's coming to Xbox Game Preview.
I'm updating that product right now. You guys continue.
Yeah, but Wes, do you have
Metaphor
anything?
Refantasio. That's just the new game from the Persona 4 and 5 team. Just looks as great as Persona games look. That's like fall 2024, I think. No Rest for the Wicked. We mentioned the Ori team earlier, Moon Studios, talking about Prince of Persia, but that's this very painterly illustrated action RPG coming out into early access this year.
Yeah.
Looks cool. And it's fun to see like why they're doing this instead of like a third Ori. So they clearly have like something they want to tell with this genre and type of game, and I'm excited to see what that is.
Yeah. Stalker 2 finally coming out this year.
Yeah.
Maybe, hopefully. Obviously that game has gone through the ringer in the worst ways, that team, but it's like it's crossing the finish line this year. Skate Story is one that looks so cool.
Yeah.
That I want to play.
That's one with like the diamond looking person.
Yeah, like he's like made out of glass, and
Yeah,
all we know is
something.
like he's in hell, or he's from hell, or something like that. It's like you're a glass skater with hell involved, but it looks so trippy and weird. Star Wars Hunters, or not Hunters, but Outlaws.
Outlaws. Say Hunters. I don't know. If we're
Hunters is also
excited
coming out
about
this
Hunters.
year, which
Yeah.
I mean that game has been delayed a couple times now.
Yeah.
But
Outlaws looks awesome.
Ubisoft
Yeah.
Star Wars, yeah, that looks cool.
Senua's
this-
Saga, Hellblade 2. Can't wait for that. Still probably one of my all-time favorite game trailers is that reveal with she's just doing the very metal song right into the camera. I think it was Game Awards. I love that
Yeah.
trailer.
Have you seen this was another one that was recently dated for 2024, but had been delayed. Was Stellar Blade? That
Yeah,
PlayStation
the
5 exclusive action game that used to be called Project Eve, where you play as the
mhm.
overly like the super pretty girl with a sword
Yeah,
and fighting monsters and stuff. It looks cool as
it's
hell.
awesome. Yeah, I
It
can't.
looks sweet.
I'm excited for it. They just put out like a featurette about the that game. I forget. It was PlayStation or the developer, but yeah, it was.
It was part of that 2024 trailer too,
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
with Silent Hill and all the other ones.
Hmm.
What else? Still Wakes the Deep, that like weird horror question mark game
No.
by no?
No.
Is it just weird?
Yeah, it's just like underwater. Wait, no, I'm
Okay.
thinking of no, I'm wrong.
Under the
I'm wrong.
Waves or something.
I'm thinking
You
Under
think-
the Waves, which is
Well, that
Yeah,
came out
yeah.
already. Yeah,
This
that
is
came out last year.
this is the Chinese room, and it's.
Yeah.
I guess we don't know if it's technically horror, but yeah, it looks pretty spooky.
Yeah, that's the team that did a Dear Esther, and everybody's gone to the Rapture, their next
both
thing.
games that everybody's like, this is a horror game, right?
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, everybody's gone to the Rapture as a horror game, and I was terrified of how slow you moved in that game.
Yeah, and then Dear
Yeah.
Esther, everybody's like, when's the jump scare happening?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like playing Gone Home for the first time. Thank goodness you're here. Looks
I
sweet,
played that.
delightful.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
really liked it. A lot of
It's
the
like a
bits
2010s Cartoon
really
Network
landed.
show.
Yeah.
yeah. That Return to Gollum comes to Switch this year. guys.
Finally, yes, let's go. You said Return to Gollum.
Return to
Moria
Moria.
mixed with Gollum.
No, don't do that to that other game.
Casting of Frank Stone. That's the. I'm not like super pumped on it necessarily that it's a Dead by Daylight universe game because I just don't know Dead by Daylight, but it is a super massive single player horror game. And
I think that game's gonna be
obviously-
cool.
Yeah, super massive. And the premise sounds pretty terrifying. Just murder and all that kind of gruesome stuff that I hope never happens to me.
I've never played a Supermassive game, but I am a Dead by Daylight fan, so I'm excited for that. The Plucky Squire.
Yeah.
I think that one's on
Looks
a
awesome.
lot of our radars.
Yeah, for sure. The Spirit of the Samurai is another stop motion game that was part of one of the indie showcases during Summer Games Fest. I wrote a news story about it at the time, and it surprisingly got like a crap ton of views. But it's a side-scrolling like kind of inspired directly by like oh my gosh, Harryhausen stop motion animation, like old school like Clash of the Titans and stuff.
Yeah.
Where you're playing as a samurai, but also like an Odama spirit and like a dog, and you're just like fighting demons. But it looks like a Ray Harryhausen stop motion film, but like as a side scrolling samurai action game. It looks super cool.
Yeah. I'd be remiss not to mention Zenless Zone Zero.
I
I'm
was
not, like,
literally just looking at the
but
trailer.
I know one of our editors here, Blake Hester, is like beyond stoked to play Zenless Zone Zero. He
bought a
loves those types of
t-shirt
games,
for it.
and yeah, you ask him, he will talk your ear off about Zenless Zone Zero. He's very excited.
Yeah, it's a
Triple Z is what he calls it.
Hoyoverse game. So folks who made Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero is the next one. Not really a fantasy setting, really more like tech, like street. I don't know. I don't know how to
Urban.
describe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Metropolis.
It's a Hoyoverse game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. I guess there's a couple of like long in development stuff that's supposed to come out, like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is finally happening this year, and they have been ramping up the marketing for that game and like new trailers, so it seems like it's actually going to come out now.
Yeah.
And then the same with The Wolf Among Us 2, which had been delayed out of last year and is now coming out this year.
Yeah, that studio, the new Telltale, they went through layoffs last year, and still they have not said how many people were laid off, and that number is not out there, which is weird. So hopefully people have recovered from that, and who knows what that game is now. Strange.
Yeah, I think it's the last game I'll call out is Visions of Mana.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's cool to see that series back with like a brand new entry and not like a remake or anything like that.
This one's not on here, but the Switch successor, can't wait for that. 2024, hopefully this fall. Maybe.
I think
I'd
it's
love
gonna
that,
hit.
please.
Perhaps for $400.
I'd love that. I'd be fine with that as long as it's a little more premium and powerful than Switch. Yes,
we want to
please.
say, like right now, we can play this back if it happens, but definitively, do you think we'll have a new Switch by the end of the year?
Yeah, me and Brian just
Yeah.
did a whole episode on it, and we're
Oh, yeah.
predicting September
Okay.
is
You said yes
the
to
release.
Alex?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm with you. Yeah. Kind of in the spirit of that, I got a quick game I want to play with you guys
Oh,
in terms of releases. So I told you guys this, obviously nobody else knows this, but in addition to this, our release calendar, I keep a personal list of games with TBA release dates. So like not even a release year. They're just like, we don't know when these are coming at
Yeah.
all. And just to keep, it's just for my own personal reference, because it can be easy to forget those games, especially the ones that go quiet for a long time. And I've highlighted a few of the bigger slash perhaps close to release question mark relatively speaking games, and I'm gonna call them out, and I'm gonna do this sort of rapid fire style where I want each of you to I basically want you to say yes or no if you think it will come out this year, because we've seen
Easy.
before like games like this can sometimes just come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
coming out later this year, surprise. So I'm gonna call it out, and I wanted each of you to say yes or no. Will it come out in 2024? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Okay. First one, Assassin's Creed Codename Red, which for
No.
those that don't know, this is the Assassin's Creed that is set in Japan.
No.
Yes.
Okay. I almost wanted to keep a tally of like, we'll check back at the end of the year to see how many of these you guys got right. I'm gonna say I think I might say yes. I think Ubisoft's getting back on their yearly Assassin's Creed kick. So I'm gonna say yes. Citizen Sleeper 2 Star Wars Vector.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I was like, what is medium? Oh, whoa, what?
Oh.
A bubble. Did you do that?
I don't.
Can you see? You had a thumb emoji. Okay.
I don't know what it did.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I thought you did that. I was like, can that? I
Yeah.
assume the video people can see that, but okay.
Mine's
you're both
not
saying
doing
yes,
it.
though.
Yeah. Yeah, we're both
I don't know
saying
what that
yes.
was.
I'm gonna say yes too, and I also hope so. Clockwork Revolution, which is the In Exile, like
No.
sort of BioShock Infinity-ish open world steampunk game from last year's
did it again.
Xbox showcase. We got 2 no's.
I want it this year,
I-
but it won't be.
I
No.
guess I'll say no too, but
No.
I'm not as confident as you guys. Death Stranding 2. This is a thinker. Alex, begrudgingly, yes? Is that
Yes.
not confident, but yes?
Yes.
I don't know how these are popping up on my screen.
Yeah, I don't
I
know
think
how
it's the
you're
camera. You have
only
the
one that's
OP1
doing
camera.
it.
Yeah,
The Opal camera. It must be the
composer
software.
thing, yeah.
It's just the text gestures.
do
And it's like it's
the
weird 'cause it's
OK
like
sign. Does it do like an OK as well?
It's funny because it looks like a thought bubble, but it's appearing right over his head, which is perfect. Of like a thumbs up emoji. But I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no Death Stranding this year.
Okay.
Coward. It's coming this year, and it's gonna be game of the year.
November. November. Let me look at the calendar. It's coming.
Oh, you're gonna put it. Oh, you're gonna add a date. Okay.
Death Stranding 2 dropping November 1st.
Okay. You heard it here
about
first.
that?
November 1st is the year of Sam Porter Bridges, or the day of Sam Porter Bridges, I guess. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which is the new Budokai Tenkaichi game.
Yes.
Yeah. Will that come out before Sandland comes out?
Yes.
Well, ooh, that's a good question. Actually, it's hard to tell. Like, who knows how long they've been working on?
I think they
Sandland.
both come out this year.
Okay, I'll say yes to Dragon Ball.
Okay.
You said yes, Wes? Medium?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just preparing for the next one in case it's a big one.
You look like you're in
Doke
pain,
V.
Wes.
Oh, sorry. The next game is Doke V.
Not a
which is,
real game.
Not real. This
Really
is, if you
cool
haven't seen
vertical
it,
slice.
it's this. Oh
No.
God. Whoa! What the? I was like, your roof. A hole
It's
opened up in your
storming.
roof, and the storm is coming in.
What did I do
Sorry
to
for
that?
audio listeners. Wes's camera is putting up all these random effects, and there was a rainstorm for about a half second.
This
'Cause he
has to
said
be
he
tied to
gave
the
double-
new camera.
double- Yeah, like It knew your skepticism with Doke AV, which for those that don't know, this is Pearl Abyss's like upcoming I don't even know what
the
you call it,
vertical
open world,
it looked sick, but
the
that's
most
not coming out
delightful
this year.
game I've ever seen.
It looked awesome.
They still got to put out Crimson Desert.
Yeah, Crimson Desert's first.
And then I'll believe
That's true.
DokeAV.
Crimson Desert feels more like a real game right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of games that are becoming more and more real, Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which, as a reminder, we will be seeing that game for realsies sometime this year.
It's coming out this year.
Do you think they do the Fallout 4 thing of like, hey, we announced it this year and it's coming out a few months later?
It's coming
Alex
out.
says yes.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. They laid off a lot of good talent last year. And I'm wondering why.
Double dumb.
Well, that's really trying to trigger the rain.
I'm gonna go the wild choice. I'm gonna go without. I'm gonna say it's gonna surprise us.
I don't think it's wild. I think it's happening.
It's gonna come out this fall.
August.
By hook or by crook, it's gonna come out.
August or September, I think.
I'm saying October. No sooner than October.
Okay.
Dragon Quest 12.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna go no.
No.
It feels like it should, but no. Oh, there it is. The rain's back. You're just like a wizard conjuring.
I hope this shows through on the Discord. Otherwise,
it does.
It's gonna look ridiculous.
Okay, so everyone on Dragon Quest 12.
Yeah.
Everwild.
God, no.
Not a real game.
Not real.
Absolutely not.
That game was canceled long ago.
No surprise at the Xbox Summer Showcase where they're like, hey, it's coming this year.
No, that was quietly sunsetted long ago.
Well, that's sunset. It was like quiet. There was that report that it was like more or less rebooted.
Yeah, but
like in the last like year or two.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go no too. Speaking of other long in development Xbox games, Fable. Will Fable come out this year?
they'll say it will, but it won't. Delayed to 2025.
I mean, that's not the same thing.
Well, it's not even on the it's not even on that developer direct, is it?
It is not, but I mean, that doesn't
not
necessarily mean they won't come out this year. It's only January.
I think it's next year at the earliest. It's a no.
Yeah, I also think next year.
This year is Avowed.
Senua's Saga.
Yep. And
In terms of Microsoft's output?
yeah.
Okay.
And
So
World of
Fable.
Warcraft, of course, now that they own that.
And Call of Duty.
I guess sort of technically, yeah. I know. Guess we got to get used to saying that. Yeah, I'm gonna go no for Fable 2, but I'm actually a little more reluctant. There's a part of my brain that's like maybe
Reluctant, no.
But yeah, I think no. Here's one we ask ourselves every year: Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Yes.
Or is 2024 the year?
Yes.
Whoa! Fireworks for double thumbs up on West. That means it has to happen now.
It's the year.
Yeah,
It is.
I feel
It
like
has to be the year.
Honestly, if it does come out, I think we will all be shooting fireworks legit because we're like, thank God it's finally here.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna say yes too. I think
That studio, I think, needs to bring in new money. They need to release a game, I think.
Here's a curveball. I Am Jesus Christ.
That's already out.
No, a prologue is out. The full game is not.
Oh, no.
They did
Like Genesis or the rest of it?
Yeah, are they doing chapter by
that's a
chapter?
great
Exodus?
question. It's an episodic game now, apparently. I don't know.
Numbers
But yeah,
will
they
release in
released
2036.
At the end of 2022, they released a demo, basically, like a prologue chapter, but the full game is TBA.
No.
Yeah, no.
Okay. I'm gonna say yes.
The 3 days have
I'm gonna say
passed.
yes.
It's not happening.
That means I'm saying yes for no other reason than because I want to go to heaven when I die.
It's got to say 40 delays and 40 nights.
Okay, and then it's right.
Yeah.
A game that we are also going to be learning about very soon, Indiana Jones.
No.
Yes.
Next week we are going to see gameplay and a whole deep dive.
When
on it for
did
the first
Machine
time.
Games' last game come out?
Wolfenstein 2? Oh, I guess
2017.
Youngblood. Wait, did they do Youngblood, or did someone
They-
else do Youngblood?
They helped with Youngblood, didn't they?
Because 2 was 2017.
Then maybe maybe it's a thumbs up then.
I'm looking it up now,
Arcane was
'cause
the one. They were like the main lead on Youngblood. I remember that now. Arcane with Machine Games. I think Indiana Jones is this year, and I think it's first half. No, I think it's first half of 2024.
Oh,
I think
wow.
I think it's the one that's going to get the Fallout 4 treatment. We're going to hear about it next week, I think, at the
Next week.
developer direct. Yeah, and then maybe June. Feels like a June game.
Okay. So you're expecting
It's
a
time.
release date next week, possibly.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Avowed will get a release date.
I can see that. You
I would
said
love
no
that.
to Indiana Jones, right, Alex?
I changed my mind to yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no.
If I had to bet, that team wanted that game out last year, or Disney wanted that game out last year with Dial of Destiny, and they couldn't hit it, and that's why I think it's this year.
I mean, they're probably grateful now because that movie did not do great. So
Yeah.
maybe they're like, you know what? Maybe it's good that this is coming out with some separation.
Yeah.
Judas.
No.
No,
Levine's
Ken Levine games do not
Narrative
come out
Legos.
except for like 10 years after they're announced. So no.
That's a
I
good
want
point.
that game bad, but
No.
Yeah, I'm saying no.
it's gonna be a while.
I hope I pronounce this next game right. Kanutsugami, Path of the Goddess.
Of course.
I don't even know what that game is.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
Capcom's fantasy action game that they announced last year that we all thought looked super cool. I don't remember it, but it looks like third person swordplay, like you're fighting demons and stuff, like almost them doing like a Neo or a Sekiro.
No.
Do you remember this?
Not ringing a bell to me.
Not coming out.
You have to look it up or look up a screenshot because I remember we were all in that Capcom showcase together and we were like, "That looks cool. What is that?" But I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say it's gonna come out.
No.
Okay. Lost Soul aside. Speaking of cool action games that have been
No.
long in development, do you guys know what this is?
I know the name and it's not coming out.
That's
That's
solo
a game I
developer, right?
associate.
started
in my
out as
brain
a
as
solo
not coming out
project,
for a
I
long
bel-
time.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is a
it's
game
not
that was
coming
announced
out.
in like 2016 as a solo project by a dude in China, and it looks like Final Fantasy 15 mixed with Devil May Cry, and it was so impressive that Sony like signed him for a publishing deal to make it a PlayStation exclusive. It gets a trailer once every like 3 years. And most recently, they confirmed it was coming to PS5 because it was originally supposed to be a PS4 exclusive, but time happened. I'm gonna say no.
No. How
Yeah.
many more
You
of
know,
these
again-
you got, Marcus? I gotta go eat lunch.
I'm gonna run through for Metal Slug Tactics.
Yes.
Yes.
I hope so.
All right.
Was that the last one?
Oh no, I was gonna
Okay.
just rapid fire. Metroid Prime 4.
Yes.
Launch game, Switch
The new
successor,
Switch?
Yep.
September
Cross-gen
19th.
title, Switch 2.
Okay, we're all in agreement. Okay. Mina the Hollower.
Yes.
I'm gonna say no. Unless you know something we don't know, Mr. Yacht Club. But I'm gonna say no. The Outer Worlds 2. I'm gonna say no.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
no rain.
Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake.
No.
Can we get a double dose of the Prince this year?
No.
No.
You guys mentioned earlier, I was surprised. Sandland. You said yes, Alex?
Yes.
Or were you just saying that it will come before Dragon Ball?
It'll come before Dragon Ball.
I'm going to say no. Okay. Slitterhead.
Blake would
The,
love for that to come out.
They're
But-
still showing like their developer videos tell
Yeah.
me that game's years away. They're
Yeah.
still showing like,
It's a no.
Okay.
all right,
Same.
today we made a girl with hair that can kill you. Check it out.
Today we opened up 3DS Max.
Yeah.
We're going to be making some models today. Okay. Star Wars Eclipse. Quantic Dreams.
No.
No.
Star Wars theme.
That game's
No.
like 5 years away for sure.
Okay, I'll say no too. State of Decay 3. Finally,
Did they announce that?
They
They announced that forever ago.
they've
With the
been
deer, right?
they've been
Yeah.
hiring
Years ago.
they've been hiring some people lately too.
No, I think Xbox is already pretty stacked for 2024.
Yeah, I think that would be like 2025.
Yeah,
I don't know if it'll be ever at this point. I'm saying
fair.
no. Okay. 2 more.
Okay.
UFO 50.
Yes.
That's the
Wow, you said the
Derek Yu
confident.
game.
The Derek Yu game of like 50 games that are all fully fleshed out, and it's like this ambitious indie thing, and it looks cool, but it's also been announced for years with no
It'll
real
come out.
updates. Will it be this year though?
Yes.
I'm gonna say
When
no.
I spoke to Derek Yu in that cave and asked about UFO 50,
And you pressed them up against the cave wall, said, "Tell me about
Yeah.
UFO 50."
and he said there's 49 of them made.
Okay, you got me. It's UFO 49.
He didn't say that, but
He could. He's
I
like,
got
just
the
can't figure out
vibe
the
he wants to
50th game.
finish that game sooner rather than later.
Okay, soon as 2024, perhaps.
That's my guess.
All right.
Who
last
knows?
game.
These creatives, man, you know?
Or actually, second to last game, Unknown 9 Awakening.
What?
Don't
You
even know what
guys
that
remember
is.
this game?
No.
This was
No.
announced in 2021, I think, at an Xbox. Oh no, at Gamescom. Actually, 2020, and it's like based on a. So Unknown 9 is apparently some like big media sci-fi-ish franchise, like spanning novels and books and comics. But it's getting its first game. There was that cinematic trailer with the little Indian girl that has like superpowers. Do you remember this? I sound like Ben Hansen right now saying this. Like, you guys remember? Have you seen this?
Never heard of this game. I've never even seen
looked
it.
cool.
I'm looking at it now, and I've never seen this.
Okay. It is not. It is like. I only brought this up because apparently I saw a story from Eurogamer where like it had a recent update where like a Singapore rating board gave it a 2024 release window. So I was like, oh my god, is there a sign of life for this game? Because I have not. It has not made a peep since Gamescom 2020. Really.
Can I guess what your next game you're gonna say is?
Sure.
Is it by Capcom?
No.
Oh,
What are you thinking of?
Pragmata.
Oh, that's not this. They just delayed it last year, and they said
I thought it was gonna
they
be on
didn't
your
even give
list,
it a
though.
date. Last year
on
they
your
just said question mark. I don't know when this is coming out. All right, my last game is Wonder Woman by Monolith.
No.
Also, no.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. You're saying no, but you're agreeing by saying yeah.
Sure. The thing that you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Skull and Bones? I know there's a release date.
Do we believe it?
Yes. They have to get their money.
True.
I mean, so yeah, that's it. So yeah, everyone watching at home, I hope you all kept tally. 'Cause we're going to be relying on you to reference this, and when we get to the end of the year and we see what came out and what doesn't, and we're all going to be like, man, I can't believe Judas came out this year. We were stupid.
Wow.
Man, what a great game it was. We all played it.
I'd love to be
Wonderful.
wrong.
That's true. That'd be cool.
I can't wait for that game.
Alrighty, y'all. Thank you all for listening this week. Be sure to go and grab an issue of Game Informer, your local GameStop, or by going to GameStop.com/Game Informer. Get that physical issue for $7.99. Our current magazine cover is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We've got another exciting one coming to you next month. Twitch.tv/Game Informer and YouTube.com/Game Informer are where you go for our very cool video content. Lastly, go listen to All Things Nintendo, our Nintendo focused podcast. And go follow these fellas on social media. Follow Marcus at Marcus Stewart 7 and follow Wes at LeBlanc Wes. And then you can follow me at It's Van Aken. Thank you to Matt Storm, aka DJ Stormageddon. They were on the show last week. Thanks for being our podcast editor. Go and listen to their shows, Fun and Games, and Reignite Podcast, which is their BioWare podcast. That's it for this week. We'll see you next Thursday. Goodbye, everybody.